Good afternoon, everyone. I am Marcia Brewster, President of the United Nations Association of Westchester County. It's great to see you all here. I would like to start before the program. I would like to call on Cass Sant to make an acknowledgement of the land on which Mercy University is situated.
Hi. Before we further proceed with UN Day, we want to acknowledge that we are standing on Indigenous land right now. Before the arrival of European settlers, Dobbs Ferry was home to the Wekigis tribe and other Algonquin tribes. Land acknowledgements are not a past tense, they are not a historical context. We stand today on Turtle Island on what is and always has been Algonquin land, and we must play an active role in recognizing Indigenous sovereignty as we advance social justice.
Thank you, Cass. We are delighted to welcome you all, our members, co-sponsors, and partners to this celebration of the 78th anniversary of the founding of the United Nations. Our topic today, peace and appreciating peace and promoting nonviolence, could not be more timely. Before we start the main program, I just wanted to mention that on such an important topic, it is crucial to emphasize that the meeting serves as a forum for discussion, constructive dialogue, and collaboration. We kindly request all participants to refrain from using this platform for political statements or grandstanding. Let us focus our efforts on fostering cooperation and peace in this room. As we mark UN Day, the Secretary General exhorts us to renew our hope and conviction of what humanity can achieve when we work as one in general solidarity. Our UNA USA is dedicated to inspiring and mobilizing Americans to support the work of the United Nations. And we also support United States leadership at the United Nations. We hope this program will inspire some of you to join our movement, those who are not already members, and you can meet Ronnie over at the side table while we're having our reception. I'm very excited about today's program and the focus on the role of the UN and youth movements in promoting peace and nonviolence. We have an excellent program today with our special guest, Michael Kingsley Nina, in dialogue with Ambassador Francis Okello. Both gentlemen have been involved in United Nations peace-building operations. Their remarks will be followed by a lightning round of updates on youth movements in Westchester County. Following the program, we will have a reception where you can discuss all the things that were brought up at the tables around the room and also with the speakers. Unfortunately, we won't have time for questions from the floor. A lot of thought and work has gone into the planning of today's program. Thank you to the program committee. Many of our board members are on it, and I wanted to especially mention Dan Baina, Colleen Gardefay, Paul Presenju, and Raina Cotterville. Unfortunately, several of our board members are sick today, and some of them have COVID again, so they weren't able to be here in person, but they're on Zoom. Our fabulous co-sponsors are here in force and have tables around the room where you can find out more about their programs. I want to mention in particular Mercy University's School of Social and Behavioral Science, which has provided this beautiful room for us today. Special appreciation goes to Professor Michiko Kuroda of the International Relations and Diplomacy Program for her leadership. I also want to acknowledge all of our co-sponsors, I don't want to miss anyone, who contributed ideas and funds to make this program possible. Please stand when I mention your name. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Zeta Nu Omega Chapter, Concerned Families of Westchester, the International Institute on Peace Education, September 11th Families for Peaceful Tomorrows, the League of Women Voters of Westchester County, Westpac Foundation, over there, the Lynx Incorporated, Westchester County Chapter, Manhattanville College, Mary T. Clark Center for Religion and Social Justice, the Westchester County Youth Bureau, and the UNA USA Southern New York State Division, and the Westchester chapter. We're also delighted to welcome Ray McCabe, who is UNA USA's National Youth Engagement Officer. Finally, I wish to recognize our local elected leaders. In particular, please stand if you are a local official. I wanted to mention my representative on the County Board of Legislators, David Imamura. I guess Mary Jane is not here. Okay. Now I'm honored to introduce our special guest, Mr. Michael Kingsley Nina, Director of the Central and Southern Africa Division in the UN Secretariat, Department of Peace, Political and Peace-Building Affairs, and Peace Operations. He has served the UN for nearly 3 decades in senior leadership roles in political and legal advice, refugee protection, armed conflict, emergency and headquarters context, and across the domains of humanitarian, political, human rights, and development work. Prior to joining the Peace and Security Pillar at the United Nations Secretariat, he was based in Damascus. He was based in Damascus for nearly 5 years as Director of Syria Operations with the United Nations Relief and Works Organization, and was also based in Gaza. I am also pleased to introduce UNA USA board member, Ambassador Francis Okello, who has a distinguished career as the Ugandan ambassador to several countries, including the European Union, and he was invited to serve the United Nations as Deputy United Nations Special Coordinator for the Middle East Peace Process and the Secretary General's Special Envoy for Peace. Participants will be able to speak to our speakers at the end of the program at the reception. Gentlemen, please take your seats. Introduce our dean from
Okay, yeah. Okay.
For the School of Social Behavioral Sciences.
It's okay, thanks. You forgot to say last but not least. Madam President, UNA USA Westchester Chapter, sponsoring organizations, members of the UNA, and welcome guests and friends. It gives me great pleasure to deliver the opening remarks at today's UN Day event. On behalf of Dr. Stuart Seidel, Dean of the School of Social and Behavioral Sciences, and on behalf of Dr. Saul Fisher, Associate Provost, who oversees the Center for Global Engagement, and on behalf of Mercy University. Our mission statement is, Mercy is committed to providing motivated students the opportunity to transform their lives through higher education. For this, we prepare students to embark on rewarding careers to continue learning throughout their lives and to act ethically and responsibly in a changing world. Mercy University enjoys a close relationship with the UNA USA Westchester chapter. Together, we have occasionally organized Model UN simulations for local high school students. We're grateful and humbled that the Westchester chapter held honor ceremonies for our Model UN students to recognize their achievements. The United Nations was founded on October 24, 1945, with the goal of preserving international peace and security. At this moment, several major armed conflicts are taking place around the world. More than ever, we require a functional UN. It is an opportunity for the people of this community to reaffirm the importance of international peace and security. I'm glad to see so many young people here today. I wish you all lively debates and exchanges with one another and look forward to speaking with you soon. I turn the floor back to Marshall Bruce.
Thank you so much, Eduardo, and I apologize. for my oversight. Do you both have a lavalier mic? You're set up for the mic? Yes. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you.
Michael, it's such a great pleasure to see you again after a while.
Indeed.
And to participate with you in the celebration of this UN Day. And also to pay tribute for the great work you're doing at the United Nations. The theme of this UN Day, as we know, is the appreciating peace and promoting nonviolence. How appropriate. When you look at our world today, it's full of conflicts and wars. Wars everywhere. I think there are 10 major conflicts in the world today. And we are all aware of what's happening in the Middle East and the unjust war taking place in Ukraine, wars in several African countries, Asia, etc. So conflicts everywhere. But against this background, we have the organization, the United Nations organization, whose central mandate, one of the central mandates, is to maintain peace and security among nations. And in the discharge of this mandate, the UN is involved in a variety of activities, but principally in deploying peacekeeping operations around the world. I think currently there are over 10 peacekeeping operations in the world, and 71 since the UN operation began in 1948, thanks to the Canadian Foreign Minister. Now, in the light of your experience in the UN and in the peacekeeping operations in particular, how would you assess the effectiveness of the United Nations in its peacekeeping role?
Thank you, Ambassador, and thank you all for having me. Mercy College, UNA, USA. Ambassador, it's good to see you too, and I'm glad you're interviewing me. I hope you have friendly questions for me, but that was a difficult one to start with. Ambassador, what I will say is that peace will appear wherever she is earnestly desired. If you call out to peace, she will answer your call. The wars around the world are about political will and leadership. The most protracted conflicts would end if those who wield power would earnestly seek peace and make the necessary sacrifices to win peace. I believe that is fundamental, and I believe that that applies to all conflicts around the world. Now, the United Nations will continue to do its work, and you're very familiar with that work. You've been involved in some amazing mediations in Africa, for example. Mediation is part of the support that we provide to member states, to nations, and their leaders. We help them to resolve disputes peacefully. We have other methods and other skills and other expertise, for example, in the running of elections, making sure that elections are credible and peaceful and inclusive. We help with the disarmament of armed groups. We call it DDR, stands for Disarmament, Demobilization, and Rehabilitation of Forces. We help them to reform their armed forces, security sector reform, and a thread that runs through everything we do in the peace world and in the development world and in the humanitarian world as well is the empowerment of women. We seek to improve, to make meaningful the participation of women in the search for peace, because research and experience has shown that when you involve women in the search for peace, you have some very unique benefits. But Ambassador, what I would like to underline is that the other part of the UN is to remind nations to honor and abide by their obligations under the United Nations Charter. We remind them that it's important to hold sacred civilian lives, and we remind them that political disputes should be resolved peacefully. peacefully by political means, not with guns and planes and drones and bullets. We will continue to do this to appeal to nations and their leaders. And we hope that ultimately our work will bear fruit. Ambassador, you mentioned peacekeeping. I just want to say very quickly that peacekeeping has had many successes over the years, over 7 decades, but experience has shown that for peacekeeping to be successful, certain conditions must be in place. One of those conditions should be the political will of the governments and the armed groups and the international community that are involved in the conflict. Another important condition is that there should be respect for and compliance with human rights laws and other international laws that protect civilians. Now, it is important that all of these come together, and I hope that perhaps my assessment is fair. Ambassador, what do you say?
Yeah, it's quite comprehensive, Michael, and in a short time you really covered quite a lot. Right. I just want to say that we should not think that when we have a ceasefire and the end of hostilities, then all is well. In a certain sense, that's the beginning.
Right.
If you look at the effect of hostilities on people or innocent people, on their psychology, for example, you see on TV young people seeing their parents being killed. Just seeing what effect that war, that experience has on that child growing up. You are planting the seed of future conflicts right there. So, in a certain sense, it is very important to note that violence really breeds violence in the future. So the only way to end violence is non-violence. So I agree very much with what you just said. The second point I wanted to seek your views on is the issue of environment. It's a hot one for everybody. We see the impact of our life today on environment, on this small planet we live in. Now, conflicts do have major impacts on the environment. How would you see the UN doing in trying to raise the awareness of people on the destructive impact of wars on the environment?
Ambassador, it's a complicated subject, and I think most of you will know more about the climate than I do, but perhaps in the interest of time, I would just like to emphasize the advocacy work that the Secretary General himself has been taking on climate issues and on the environment. He is a passionate and a persistent advocate for climate action and for protecting the environment, and you will hear his voice very clearly on all issues relating to the COP process and all issues relating to the environment. Now, he has also been quite consistent in drawing attention to the connection between armed conflict and climate change. And an important example from Africa is the very alarming rate at which Lake Chad is shrinking, and how that shrinkage is destroying livelihoods, and in turn, that is playing into the conflict dynamics that relate to the communities of herders and farmers. It is also related to violence against women, and it is also exacerbating poverty around Lake Chad and the Sahel region. Now, those interconnections between climate change, climate shocks, and the dynamics of conflict are an important part of the advocacy work that the Secretary General has been doing. And his message has been extremely clear that the climate emergency is real, it is existential, and no one on earth can afford to ignore it. Do you think there's more he could say, or do you think on the advocacy front, at least, he has been clear enough?
No, I think that's clear enough. It's important that we become more aware of the effect of conflicts on the ground. I mean, if you look at the destruction, for example, in Gaza, just to take an example, or in Israel, or in Ukraine, all these tanks that are being destroyed and scattered around the countryside, making habitation or farming almost impossible. This is unconscionable. And one would tend to think that people who start war, once war has ended, they should somehow be responsible in rebuilding the countries which have been destroyed already, the effect of the war that they've been involved in a positive way. I mean, after the First World War, Germany was made responsible, but in a negative way. So that 21 years after that, we had another war. That's right. But if you look at, for example, the way the U.S. responded to Germany after the war, in rebuilding it, that's a good example. But in this case, it should be the people responsible in creating the war should also be responsible in restoring the damage that they have caused. So I agree with you on that. The third issue that I wanted to have your views on is the effect of hostilities and wars on young people. We adults create the problem and then we pass it on to young people, and they're deeply affected in a variety of ways. How should the UN be encouraging young people to be more involved in peace efforts, in peace work, and in nonviolence, so that they have a much better and safer future for themselves? Because we adults sometimes say, "Oh, we are building for the future. This is for the future generation." No, you have to make it good, safe now, so that what you pass on to the younger generation is good and safe for them to build on. So, what were your comments on that?
Ambassador, that's a very good question. I'm very conscious that we're in a room full of younger people, so we should be very careful what we say. But I will say quite from the start that young people need no encouragement from us to engage the troubles of this world. I think they are intelligently conscious of what is going on around the world. They are already acting and speaking, and they're ready to do more. That is my very, very strong impression. And there are several examples, numerous examples around the world. In Africa, young people are making their voices heard. In many ways, they're being forceful, but they're being peaceful. And also across the world in other places, there is a young lady who goes by the name of Greta, who is known to all of you. When she speaks, the earth listens and sighs. And over here, right here, we have the UNA and the Model UN, which is doing brilliant work. There was a list of peace activists, of which CAS is one. I was happy to meet CAS. They're doing fantastic work as well. And we also have the case from Montana in August of this year, where young plaintiffs between the ages of 5 and 22 won a Supreme Court judgment which affirmed that the state of Montana is violating their constitutional rights to a clean and healthful environment. Now, this is inspirational stuff. This is really amazing. And Ambassador, you put it politely, but I'll be a little bit more blunt, but still diplomatic. If there's one thing our generation owes to the younger generation, it is to offer a humble apology for leaving to them a world that is in such desperate condition. I think we should get out of their way and leave them to heal this world and make it a better place and help it to thrive. We can encourage, we have experience, but the energy and understanding of young people is a powerful current around the world. We haven't seen the end of it. I don't know if you agree with me.
Fully. I mean, absolutely. I think our young people are doing great. I really encourage them to take matters into their own hands. And learn from the mistakes and the experiences of the older people.
Indeed.
And try to make a better world for themselves. With the example of Greta and this lady in Montana, and there's several others. I think there's one in Kenya and some other places like that. These are examples that show that young people can be effective.
Indeed.
They have the energy, they have the vision, and they have the world to inherit. We have spoiled it enough for them, but they should be able to mold the world that they like and enjoy and live in.
Exactly.
So that would be the message, but I fully agree with, with what you said.
Indeed.
Perhaps my last question would be, how can we encourage, again, young people, because the efforts is on the young, of course. How can we encourage them to be more involved in the United Nations as an organization, in the missions of the UN, in a variety of activities that the UN is involved in economics, in health, in humanitarian activities and so on? How can we encourage them more and more and more to be involved in this global mission of making the world a better place to live in?
Thank you. We've been alerted. We have just 4 minutes to go, so I'll try to be very quick. I think an important point to make, first of all, is that the UN is a wonderful organization. There is no other organization like the United Nations. Having said that, we are not perfect. And UN work is often frustrating and stressful. There's a long list of countries where UN work is extremely dangerous as well. And you know the list: Gaza, Ukraine, I could go on and on. Now, the risks that we take means that UN work in many places, particularly on humanitarian work, it's more gritty than pretty. And you must have that in your minds when you think of working with the United Nations. They are difficult places, but we are there because the heart of our creed is to help wherever there is a need. So what I will say, if I may, is that if you are a person who is motivated to serve others selflessly and with passion, and if you are the kind of person who feels a twist of outrage in your gut when you see images of the senselessness of war, then the UN is for you. And if you believe that good shall prevail, and if you know that we have it in our collective power to make the world a better place for everyone of every color and of every gender, if you believe these things, then you are welcome to the United Nations.
Wonderful. I don't want to spoil this beautiful conclusion by adding anything to it. I just encourage our young people to think seriously of working with the United Nations and does that fully. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. It's a great.
Thank you both so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call on Reina Cadaville to introduce the youth panel, the lightning round, featuring youth movements around Westchester County. Kevin's not.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for being here with us today. I'm Raina Cadaville, co-chair of our Young Professionals program at UNA Westchester, where we're really dedicated to giving young people, like the wonderful ones you'll hear from today, a voice and a seat at the table. So without further ado, I'm very excited to introduce Emilio Juarez. Yes, please come up when I introduce you as well. Emilio Juarez from the Westchester County Youth Councils and Westchester Youth Alliance. Natalia L. Martin, a Manhattanville scholar on social justice. Margaret Engel from Peace Action New York State. Greg Donnelly, Manhattanville Clark scholar on social justice. Jonathan Alvarez from 914 United. Beth Schumann, Combatants for Peace, and our wonderful moderator, Cassiopeia Sand from Horace Greeley High School, and a Westpac intern. Please join us. Thank you all so much.
I just wanted to mention that Kevin Brickle could not make it today. And I also want to recognize our assembly person, Mary Jane Shimsky. Say hello. She's at the New York State Assembly. And so now we have five panelists, right? Yeah, because Kevin couldn't make it. So go ahead, Cass. Cass, you don't have a speaker.
Okay. Mrs. Engels, how does your work further our collective ability to appreciate peace and advance nonviolence?
Thanks, Cass. Hi, everyone. I'm Margaret Engel. I'm the Student and Campaigns Coordinator with Peace Action New York State. And to answer your question, my organization started out as two separate entities, SANE and FREEZE, in the 1970s. And we promoted specifically nuclear nonproliferation. And we did that through community efforts, through global international joint actions. Since then, we've rebranded as just Peace Action, and now Peace Action New York State is part of the largest grassroots peace organization in the United States. And so what Peace Action New York does as of late is we work with our several community chapters across the state, as well as our student organizers across the state. And we give them the freedom to focus on peace issues that affect the world and also affect their community. And I speak about that specifically as the Student and Campaigns Coordinator because it's my job to work with our 15 student chapters this year. Who take initiatives right to their campus and right to their communities, and they connect peace issues, foreign policy issues in the US to students' lives. So I'd say that's what we do, yeah.
Hi, my name is Beth Schumann. I'm the founder of American Friends of Combatants for Peace. Combatants for Peace is an organization in Israel and Palestine of former fighters from both sides who have renounced all forms of violence and have come together to work for peace and equality. I have to admit my answer to this question would have been different before October 7th. But I think that the most important thing that this movement does is provide an example of another way. It becomes a shining beacon that peace is possible, that we can hold the humanity of each other at the forefront, and we can see each other as human beings and as a community first. And I think that as of today, you're getting me today, you're not getting me on October 6th. So I would say that is the most important thing that Combatants for Peace does in Israel and Palestine, is really genuinely holding the humanity of the other in compassion, in relationship, in community, and setting an example for the world, for the entire world, that that is possible and that there is another way.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Craig Sevilla Donnelly, half Puerto Rican, half Irish. I'm the West Side Story moment of 2023 and beyond. I'm from Puerto Rico, dad from Ireland. They met during the Puerto Rican Day Parade. They're the West Side Story moment. Now I'm here. The reason why I tell you that story is because part of us connecting with all these amazing community partners out there is you're sharing your story sometimes and treating people as human beings. You want to talk about peace. You want to talk about justice. You want to talk about advocacy. You want to talk about activism. You want to talk about interfaith. Is treating human beings as human beings first and foremost. We all deserve that right. So I've been honored and blessed to be the director of the Clark Center. I know it says up there a whole super long title, but the Clark Center is really the center for community service, social justice, activism, advocacy, and spirituality. Now, today, I'm so blessed to have 11 Clark Scholars with me right now. Give a shout out to my Clark Scholars, yeah! You want to talk about youth movement and youth advocacy. These young people are the future that's going to carry on the mission of social justice, of peace. And with the Clark Scholars program, we have 500 Clark Scholars that are part of this program. 500 Clark Scholars that make a difference every single day. The way that the Clark Center runs our programming is, I think, one-time events are great, but the way that the Clark Center runs our program is we work with 200 community partners, a couple of community partners that are on this table right here, and we have programming 7 days a week to make that impact for peace, for justice, for advocacy, for social justice. I repeat those words because it has to be repeated every single day. Clark Scholars every day are involved with environmental justice, clothing insecurity, homelessness, youth engagement for incarceration, all these different things that need to be addressed every single day. It starts with young people. You know that song says, "I started from the bottom, now we're here." We started from the bottom, now we're up high, and we go from there. So that's my little spiel. Thank you so much.
Hi, my name is Emiliano Juarez, and I'm a senior at White Plains High School. And I'm also a member of the Westchester County Youth Councils and the Westchester Youth Alliance. I was a part of a youth civics leadership program in 2022 called the Youth Collaboratory. It was by Citizen University, and their mission is to build a culture of responsible citizenship across the United States. And so with this program, I developed my own power project, which I implemented last year, about a gun violence prevention series where I gathered youth from across Westchester County and tried to amplify their voices surrounding issues of gun violence and how it's affecting their communities across Westchester County. And so within this 3-part series that I hosted at the White Plains Library, I partnered with the Westchester County Youth Councils and tried to bridge that political divide around gun violence and how polarizing it is to have even these discussions of gun violence. And so I try to bring those youth together and have those conversations at the library. And we did a lot that day, and we even came up with a solution to bring music to bring people together through, the power of empathy and love, and to just bring people together and connect. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Can everybody hear me? Use the mic. All right. Good afternoon. I'm Jonathan Alvarez. I am the co-founder and CEO of 914 United. We are a program-based mentoring organization that is dedicated to providing different services to justice-impacted, gang-involved, out-of-school, and at-risk youth all throughout the lower Hudson Valley, primarily, but we do work with youth that are coming out of New York City. Founded the organization 3 years ago because of my own personal lived experience with the criminal legal system, from a youth to a young adult. So a lot of the work that we do, there's a bunch of things we do, but the core component is wrapped around gun violence prevention and gang intervention, right? So gun violence prevention and gang intervention is our focus because a lot of the kids that we work with are gang involved. They're coming out of the system, right? They're going back to impoverished communities and they get caught up in the criminal lifestyle. So a lot of the work that we do is to show them what the alternative is, teach them life skills, leadership development, financial literacy, civic engagement, right? The core things that are not taught in schools, we try to provide that form of education so that we can show them the different options that they have versus what they are given, right? Trying to keep it brief, so that's it in a nutshell.
Okay, now my question for the panelists is, how can this UNA chapter strengthen your work through partnerships with the UN?
I would say it would be great for Peace Action members and Peace Action students to get more involved in events like this because it's so important, especially after 2020, for people to meet each other face to face and be able to establish connections so that we can go on to do joint actions together. And you know, when you collaborate together, when you work together, especially face to face, then you can accomplish more, you can do more. And I would say, especially for more academic institutions, to open the door for student dialogue, especially now in terms of what's happening with Gaza and Palestine and Israel. It seems like the atmosphere for students is really threatening, and students feel like they can't talk about what's going on in Palestine without the fear of being harassed. And I think that academic institutions, I think that the UN has a responsibility to make sure that especially young people feel like they can talk about those issues. So I definitely wanted to bring that up today.
So I think on a practical level, you can sign up for the mailing list. I put it on the back table. So if you want to stay in touch with Combatants for Peace, put your name and email. We'll sign you up for the mailing list. You can follow on social media. You can share on social media. I guess the truth is, I think, personally, I think that the thing we can all do, and I found the quote. There's a great MLK quote that I've been thinking a lot about these last few days or weeks, however long it's been, 16 days. Darkness cannot drive out darkness. Only light can do that. Hate cannot drive out hate. Only love can do that. Dr. King wasn't sitting back and just saying, hey, let's just love everybody, right? He was standing up for what's right. He was giving his life to the cause. But keeping in your heart, coming from a place of compassion, keeping in your heart, coming from a place of empathy for yourself and for your community and for those, you know, on the so-called other side of your beliefs, of your war, of whatever it is that is your other side. Really, truly, as an activist, I don't think it is sustainable to come from a place of rage, to come from a place of hate, to come from a place of anger. You will burn out. And I don't think it benefits the cause ultimately. And so I guess all I can say is how we can all help is finding that place inside ourselves where we're coming truly, truly from a place of love and compassion for each other, and we're working from that place. And I think when we work from that place, we can make radical change in ways that we never thought we could.
I think it's essential that we need empathy, love, caring. We have to be listeners. We have to be compassionate. I think it's essential, especially with the United Nations. They have such a plethora of experience, a whole list of speakers, knowledge that can help out instill. I use the Clark Scholars as an example that I think is essential that, we start these platforms or these, I like to have these events at Manhattanville called speaker series sessions, where we have a human rights dialogue, we have a social justice weekly speaker series, we have a free speech activist speaker series, we have an interfaith speaker series, we have a social justice conference, we have an advocacy conference, because the young people are our social justice warriors, they are our advocates, they are our activists, and with the United Nations in partnership with that, they have such a great legacy of experience, it's a collaborative effort. We in this room are a collaboration of human beings together. So let's collaborate more, to hopefully bring peace, for one day. And I think the young people, I'm very proud of the young people in this room because I have hope. I'm not hopeless, I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I really love both of those responses. I mean, within like my generation, I see so many people like connecting with each other on the basis of empathy. And that can be hard to find nowadays because everybody's so divided, and especially within like the political realm of how things are, the state of how the world is right now. A lot of people in my generation are very hopeful for the future, and the way we bring more people to be hopeful about that is through love and empathy, as you guys both mentioned. To be more empathetic with one another and to be more compassionate. I think those are very good tools and which are very powerful to bring people together. And I would also like to add that music is a very good tool to bring people together as well. One of the solutions that we brainstormed during the gun violence prevention series is to use music as a tool to bridge that political divide and to come up with powerful solutions to curb gun violence in Westchester County and in the entire United States. And so when I hear people dancing, singing, it makes you feel good. It makes you feel hopeful, and it makes you feel like there's no end, right? And so I believe empathy, love, compassion, and music are really good for the UN to really bring about events and get speakers to speak about those topics.
So my answer is just pretty simple, really just requesting that the United Nations can actually connect with the grassroots organizations in the community, on the front line, the boots on the ground, right, that are promoting, peace, that's doing anti-gun violence work, just connecting with them and with intention to help uplift them. So I have a new proposition, right? The same way that as a leader in the community, as an adult, it is my responsibility to uplift the youth. I'm taking that same logic and I'm now requesting senior organizations, older, more established organizations to take on that same responsibility to uplift and empower the younger organizations that are doing the boots on the ground work. Because as we know, nonprofit work is tough and you have to operate in a sort of business model, right? You need monetary support, you have to build infrastructure. So doing the hard work, the direct services, while learning how to do all of that work in real time as an entrepreneur is tough. So I'm calling on the support for the United Nations to connect to organizations like 914 United and others in the community doing the hard work, and just to provide us support to uplift us so we can grow to our fullest potential.
Just to jump in on that, sorry, I know that's breaking the rules, but often it's a little taboo, you don't talk about the financial support, but all of this runs on financial support. So if and when you have means to support organizations like these, like they don't exist without that. So thanks for bringing that up, very practical.
Okay, last question. Who is a mentor who helped you get to where you are today?
I would say a mentor that definitely helped me get where I am today is Peace Action New York's executive director. Her name is Emily Rubino, and she is the youngest and first woman of color executive director for Peace Action New York. So it is such an honor that I get to work with her in our small but mighty staff, and she took me under her wing as I was a fresh graduate. And she was always there to answer questions, especially when I was learning about certain issues, maybe for the first time outside of just an academic classroom. And she also let me watch her and let me shadow what she does so that I can then go on to, come up with my own initiatives and do things my way. And she's given me the ability to go to international conferences, to go to places like this and speak, knowing that she's given me the knowledge and skills that I need to do that. So I would say, the executive director.
So I would say a friend of mine who has also been a mentor, his name is Aziz Abusara. He's the founder and co-director of Majdi Tours. They run political tours all over the world, specifically in conflict zones. So he runs tours that go to Palestine and Israel, to Northern Ireland, to the Balkans, to all the places. Basically, they seek out war zones and former war zones and bring people on trips there. And he's just one of the kindest, most compassionate people that I know. His family's from East Jerusalem. He lost his brother to the occupation, to the conflict. And yet, he's somebody who made that conscious decision to choose peace and to choose compassion instead of making the very easy choice, which would be hate and violence. And he was a child, like he was a teenager when he lost his brother. And we're launching a new project together. It's called Interact International, and we're gonna build a series of peace museums around the world, starting Israel-Palestine and then expanding to other regions. And the idea is gonna be a dual narrative, so you can have one side's complete story, history, narrative, understanding, and then the other side's complete history, understanding. And when you truly, truly can be in the shoes of the other, all of a sudden solutions arise that you never would have thought of when you stick in your own lens. And also tying in climate change and the ways in which climate disaster is fueling conflicts all over the world. So that's another project we're starting, so just wanted to make a little plug for that one.
I would say my biggest mentor up to this point in my life has to be Juana Sevilla. You may ask, who is Juana Sevilla? That is my mother, Puerto Riqueña from Puerto Rico. I would say Juana Sevilla, my mom, is because she stood for, sorry, let me clear my throat. Bad joke. I wanted to say that Juana Sevilla, my mother, who was Puerto Riqueña, Latina, being raised by a Latina mother, was very instrumental in my life because my mother was big in grassroots organizations, not-for-profits in Puerto Rico, starting them up as a young girl growing up in Puerto Rico for environmental justice, education, animal rights, and more. So from a young age, from when I was born to up to this point, Juana Sevilla, she passed away when I was 19, but that empowerment instilled in me to always be a justice warrior. And that's why I love working with young people all the time through the Clark Scholars Program that can connect with 914 United Nations of Westchester and other amazing organizations that are here right now live. But yes, my mentor is definitely my mother. Thank you.
So I actually have one singular mentor, but there have been so many adults in my life that have helped me out so much, and so I'm gonna take three, but they're all interconnected, so they all make sense. When I was in 6th grade, I had no interest in advocacy or activism, I did not want to learn about any social injustices because I thought that they didn't matter or that I didn't care about them enough to actually matter, and so my mom signed me up for the Westchester County Youth Council, and I learned about food insecurity that day, where we planted plants and vegetables and fruits in this community garden at the place where the WCYC always met. And so from there on, I kept going to those meetings weekly as a 6th grader, and then I continued on to the high school group, and from there, within the WCYC, the middle school group, Chloe Fernandez, she really mentored me a lot in really learning about social. Is this better? Okay. Marissa Raganisi, she helped me a lot with college applications, with just like mentoring and life advice in general. And she really helped me with getting accepted into a lot of these programs that I did a lot of work with. And so my mom, who signed me up originally, and then Chloe, who mentored me through learning about social injustices, and then Marissa, who helped me advocate for different projects and really was the motivating factor for me getting so involved and being here on this panel even today. All three of those people helped me a lot, so.
I have one mentor that I'm proud to say her name, Lucrea Ortiz. She's the president and CEO of the Yonkers Family YMCA. I started my career in the gun violence prevention space under her leadership. I was working for a state-funded agency called SNUG. It's an anti-gun violence organization. And she was a very unique leader, right? As a CEO of the organization, her intent was to look at the leaders under her organization and help uplift them. And she poured into me in the last 3.5 years, teaching me what real leadership looks like through practice, but also in theory, giving me the life skills I needed, right, to navigate building an organization while also working as an employee, right? So her leadership, in a lot of ways, has shaped my leadership. And the one thing that I got from our relationship is that from her mentorship is that our goal as leaders is to amplify other leaders, to build our legacy through other leaders that we build and teach and help.
Yep, okay, I am involved with Westpac, Horace Greeley High School's BSU, and Horace Greeley High School's Progressive League. Through my work, we've regularly covered an array of environmental causes. We carried out a large rally through downtown Chappaqua over the summer to fight for clean air. We're also very focused on amplifying Indigenous voices and strengthening Indigenous rights. For example, one of the causes of the Progressive League is to protect an Indigenous forest that's owned by our school district from being bulldozed. So those are just some things that are important to me.
Thank you very much, Cass, and all of you for being here. Stay in your seats for a moment. Ray and I have a few goodies to hand out here. Part of our program. Margaret, and I hope that we can have some pictures of you over at the there are some nice certificates in there that you might want to open. Oh, maybe Trent doesn't get one. Oh, here we go. Oh. I'd like to ask Ray McCabe, who's the UNA USA Youth Engagement Officer, to make a presentation to the Youth Leader of the Year for the whole UNA USA national level.
Hello, everyone, and thank you again. That was a fantastic panel of youth activists. So my name is Ray. I oversee youth engagement at UNA USA. So that includes our campus chapters, our youth members, our young professionals, as well as our youth observer to the UN. So I'm very honored to be here to present this award. So today I am presenting the Youth Leader of the Year award to UNA Westchester, their very own Raina Cadaville. She currently serves as the Communications Director as well as the Young Professionals Co-Chair of UNA Westchester. A little bit about her work. She founded UNA USA Campus Chapter at Boston University and worked for the UN Youth Assembly for a few years. She also has done fantastic work with women's rights, philanthropy, refugee assistance, providing STEM education for girls. The list goes on and on and on. For the sake of time, I won't read the entire thing, but Raina, this is so well deserved, so thank you again and congratulations.
You won't be able to see it because it's white on glass, but it's a very beautiful honor.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Do you mind if I say something really quickly? I just want to say, to the point of one of the questions that was asked on this panel, in terms of people who have been role models and who have brought me to where I am today in my life, Marsha, all of our wonderful board members on UNA Westchester's board, as well as Southern New York and Boston, are the people who have brought me to where I am today. So thank you so much.
And thank you, Raina. She's a wonderful leader of our Young Professionals program, so please feel free to talk to Raina during the reception. Please take your seats. Now, I would like to call on our dear, one of our Education Committee chairs, Mr. M. His name is Dimitrios Mihailides. He's going to announce the winners of the UNA Westchester Media Contest.
Yes, Marsha. By the time we get Dimitrios Michailidis, my minute will be up. So, my name is Dimitrios Michailidis. Everybody knows me as Mr. M. I am representing the Education Committee of the Westchester chapter. Every year we have our media contest. This year's topic focused on child labor around the world and in the US. We thank the many students who participated from the Westchester and Bronx area, and here are our finalists, both from Somers School District and Riverdale Country School. Kate Barton, Tyler Ains, Kennedy Hines, and Gabriella Singh. Congratulations to them and for their outstanding works. On behalf of the UNA USA, they are receiving a certificate, medal, and a gift card. If you have a moment, you can see their work. We posted it by our table. Finally, a big thank you to our committee for all their hard work. Ms. Audrey is in the audience, Ms. Karen, who's on Zoom, Ms. Tricia is on Zoom, and Ms. Lily is here with us today. Looking forward to this year's contest and the submissions. Thank you again, and stay safe.
Thank you, Mr. M. Now, unfortunately, our singer could not come today because she also got sick. There are a lot of people who aren't with us today because of the latest outbreak of COVID. And I think that Nada Kader would lead us in a chant for peace. And then Nada Kader from Westpac Foundation. Do you want me to hold it?
Thank you so much. So thank you so much. So I really appreciate everyone's participation, to our very special guests, to the panelists. And I just wanted us to close this beautiful afternoon with a Sanskrit chant. Just tell me when you're on, Shelley. You're videotaping? So, you know, we're hearing there's so much massive violence going on, and it's very traumatizing. And we heard beautiful words. You know, Beth was saying that Peace will come when we really feel the dignity of all people, when we feel the equality of all people, when we recognize that all people need safety, security, dignity, freedom, equality. We can say, every Jewish life is precious, every Palestinian life is equally as precious. We can say that, but we need to feel it as well, viscerally. We need to feel it, not just say it, we have to feel it. So this is a special Sanskrit mantra, which Sanskrit language is a beautiful healing language. It brings humanity together. We're all members of one family. And this sacred mantra was given by my spiritual teacher, Sri Sri Anandamurti Ji, also known as Prabhat Ranjan Sarkar, founder of Ananda Marga. And the meaning of the mantra is only universal love. Only universal love. And I actually learned, and it's Baba Nam Kevalam, and I learned a new melody just this morning. And so I don't have my guitar here, but I'd like to play it for all of you. And it's just 2 or 3 minutes. And it's a healing mantra. You can close your eyes if you would like to. And just the idea is that scientists tell us that everything in this manifest universe is vibrational energy. And the saints tell us that vibrational energy is pure, infinite love. So we immerse ourselves around with this universal love, infinite love, and inside is also universal, infinite love.
Thank you, Nada. Thank you. Thank you, Nada, and thank you all for being. I just wanted to mention, I've just been informed that there's a program here in the Rotunda next week hosted by the Westchester County Youth Bureau in partnership with Mercy University STEP program and Sister to Sister International, Saturday, October 28th, 9:30 a.m. It's the Youth MedTech Conference, and you can talk to Cheryl about it. She's in the back there. Now it's the time to begin our reception, and I'm so happy you're all here. And now we would like you to mingle with the speakers, have a conversation about the wonderful programs that are going on promoting peace and nonviolence around the county. I want to thank our fabulous speakers, Mr. Kingsley Nina, Ambassador Okello, and presenters of the youth movements, to Mercy University and all of our co-sponsors. We are fortunate to have so many people working toward peaceful solutions to the world's most difficult problems. Enjoy the reception. We'll send you a follow-up email next week. Thank you all for coming.